There is a plant we have been taught to despise. It is the fire in the weeds, the agony in the garden, the first weed we learn to identify by pain. We pull it, we spray it, we curse it. And in doing so, we have erased one of the most powerful plants in human history. For thousands of years, this single weed was a free superfood, a potent medicine, and the fiber that clothed armies. Herbalists know it as Dr. Nettle, a true panacea that could revitalize the entire body. Then, in less than a century, we declared war on it. But beneath its sting, a secret.
Pause for a moment. Think about this. A plant most people treat like a backyard enemy might actually be one of the most powerful survival tools humans ever had. Food, medicine, and clothing, all from something we've been ripping out of the ground. So the real question is, did we misjudge this plant? Or did we simply forget what our ancestors already knew?
Secret was waiting. This is the story of stinging nettle. The plant we forgot was a gift. Welcome to Nature Lost Vault. If this vault opens something for you, and you find value in these stories, subscribe to Nature Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve this wisdom together. The archive opens not in a field, but in a 3,000-year-old Bronze Age grave. The shroud, perfectly preserved, is woven not from wool or linen, but from the fibers of stinging nettle.
3,000 years ago, people were literally being buried wrapped in nettle fiber. That tells us something important. This wasn't just a weed to ancient societies. It was a resource valuable enough to clothe the dead. If nettle fabric could last thousands of years in the ground, imagine how strong it must have been in everyday life.
Jump forward to the 1st century AD, on the frigid northern border of the Roman Empire. Legionaries, shivering in the damp cold of Britain, were lashing their own arms and legs with bunches of nettles. Pliny the Elder recorded this practice, urtication, the act of intentionally stinging oneself. The Romans believed it kept them warm and, more importantly, treated the crippling joint pain from marching in the cold. They were right, and they were the first to understand that the sting itself was the medicine.
Wait, Roman soldiers willingly whipping themselves with stinging plants? It sounds crazy, but what they were doing actually resembles a real medical principle called counter-irritation. The sharp sting distracts the nervous system and reduces deeper inflammatory pain. In other words, those soldiers might have been practicing a form of natural pain therapy centuries before modern medicine.
Was the medicine. That sting is not a simple defense. It is a complex chemical delivery system. The plant's hairs, or trichomes, are like microscopic hypodermic needles. They are tipped with silica, which breaks off in the skin to inject a cocktail of formic acid, histamine, acetylcholine, and serotonin, the feel-good chemical. It is a sting in the body used to fight a sting in the body. For thousands of years, people with arthritis, gout, and rheumatism have intentionally stung themselves, finding that the acute burning pain of the sting provides days of relief from chronic inflammation. It was the plant that taught us about counter-irritants, but this was just its most obvious.
Here's where the science gets fascinating. Those tiny hairs on nettle aren't just spikes, they're microscopic injection needles. Each sting delivers a chemical cocktail straight into the skin. It's like the plant evolved its own biological syringe. But humans did something unexpected. Instead of avoiding it, they turned that defense mechanism into medicine.
Most obvious secret. Before spinach was cultivated, nettle was the first green of spring, a vital free superfood, picked carefully to replenish bodies starved of vitamins after a long winter. So, what happened? How did a plant so vital become our most hated weed? The story took a familiar turn. By the 18th century, Industrial looms and colonial trade made cotton cheap and easy to process. Nettle, whose fiber is stronger but more laborious to break down, was abandoned. Then, in the 20th century, modern chemical herbicides arrived. The nettle, prolific, resilient, and painful, was a prime target. It was no longer a resource. It became a symbol, a sign of a messy garden, of neglect, of land.
This moment in history feels familiar. When industrial systems arrive, older natural resources often get pushed aside. Not because they're useless, but because they're harder to process at scale. Cotton became easier for factories, herbicides became easier for agriculture, and suddenly a plant that once fed and clothed people was labeled a nuisance.
Of land untamed. But nettle, like mesquite, does not surrender easily. Its sting is its defense. Its roots, its rhizomes, form a creeping, stubborn mat that spreads underground. It thrives in the very places we disturb, the edges of our farms, our compost heaps, our manure piles. It waited, dismissed as a pest. But what if the sting was a distraction? What if the plant we were trying to kill was actually healing the land? By the 1970s, ecologists began to look past the pain. They realized nettle was not just growing in rich soil, it was a sign of it. Where nettle thrives, the soil is high in phosphate and nitrogen. It is an indicator of fertility.
And here's the twist that changes everything. Ecologists eventually realized nettle wasn't invading healthy soil. It was revealing it. In environmental science, plants like this are called indicator species. Their presence tells you something important about the land. So the next time you see nettle growing somewhere, the real question might not be, how do we remove it? But, what is this soil trying to tell us?
But more than that, it is a bioaccumulator. Its deep roots mine for minerals, iron, potassium, magnesium, silica, pulling them up from deep in the subsoil and concentrating them in its leaves. When the nettle dies and decomposes, it enriches the topsoil for all the other plants. It was not a pest, it was a guardian. It is also a critical nursery. The beautiful red admiral and peacock butterflies, among others, lay their eggs only on stinging nettle. Eradicate the nettle, and you eradicate the butterflies. And now, in a world of modern problems, we are desperately relearning what our ancestors knew. We are looking for solutions, and finding them, waiting in the weeds. We are remembering that when cooked, dried, or tinctured, the sting is completely neutralized, leaving only the medicine. And the medicine is staggering. First, the weed is a superfood. It is one of the most protein-rich plants in the temperate world, at up to 40% protein by dry weight. It has 4 times the vitamin C of an orange, and it is loaded with iron, calcium, and vitamin K. It is a buffet for the body. But its true genius, as herbalists describe it, is its affinity for the protein pathways of the body. It helps us absorb protein. It builds blood protein. It helps the kidneys remove protein waste. And it calms allergic proteins. This is why it is a validated modern medicine. For the millions who suffer from seasonal allergies, freeze-dried nettle leaf has been shown in clinical trials to be a powerful, natural antihistamine, blocking the very compounds that cause us to sneeze and itch. It is also a powerful vasodilator, meaning it relaxes blood vessels. Studies show it can help lower blood pressure and even decrease fasting blood glucose levels, making it a critical ally against diabetes. But the plant's wisdom is divided into parts. The leaf is for allergies and nutrition. The root, harvested in the fall, is now hailed as a potent force in men's health. Modern studies show it helps alleviate the symptoms of an enlarged prostate, or BPH. How? It appears to work as an aromatase inhibitor, a compound that naturally affects the body's testosterone pathways. Even the seed is medicine. Herbalists have long used the seed for distressed kidneys, and modern studies have shown it can help improve blood values in cases of kidney stress. And finally, the fiber. The fiber is back. Those 3,000-year-old burial shrouds were just the beginning. Nettle fiber is stronger than linen, requires far less water than cotton, and grows without any pesticides. High-end, sustainable fashion is now creating jeans and shirts from this ancient weed. The plant that once clothed our ancestors, the plant that fed them through winter, the plant that healed their pain, is still here. It's been waiting patiently at the edge of our gardens, dismissed as a weed, holding on to its gifts. All it asks is that we see past the sting. This knowledge isn't lost. It's waiting for us to remember. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature Lost Vault and share this story. Every like, every share helps preserve this wisdom. The next vault opens soon.